I'm glad to be back. Let's get into the news. I've been in a few situations where I could have used anonymizing some data in sub productions when trying to debug problems. This tool by this Iceland guy at DXC seems like it fits that bill. I haven't checked it out yet, but I wanted to share it with you as soon as I found it. The other day, the question was asked, how would you negotiate an offer? Robert Fedora came back with some quick, actionable responses, and I thought they were worth reading here. Be willing to walk away. Make your response short, sweet, and to the point. And say what you want and decide where your hard line is. That being said, what would you add to that list? Comment below. Nia McCash wrote this article on Community about how to use the Instant Scan tool to keep your catalog clean with orphan variables, client scripts, and UI policies. I found it was a novel way to use Instant Scan. Well worth reading. Opal Karg made a post comparing Instant Scan and the Instance Troubleshooter, which I keep forgetting existed. I haven't used Instance Troubleshooter, and I haven't used much of the Instant Scanning tool. However, I would like your feedback if you have used it. Put a comment below on what you think of the Instance Troubleshooter. And if you haven't used it, why not? Were you like me and you just forgot it was there? Or maybe you're too busy building other catalog items. Dhruv and Ashutosh interviewed one of their bosses for their podcast. Which one? You'll have to listen to find out. But it's kind of interesting to see how that plays out on the podcast, and also very cool story. I really enjoyed listening to it. So thanks for sharing your story, Neerus. I appreciate that. A few weeks ago, I was asked to speak on the Breakpoint podcast, and so of course I said I would. And I met with Chuck, and we had a great discussion. If you haven't listened to that yet, I'd recommend listening to more of me. I say a lot of things, and hopefully they help. Go with side projects. Speaking of Breakpoint, Tracy Miller was on it a few weeks ago, and I thought I covered this, but I must have missed it when I looked at my notes. She's one of the people in charge of the Next Gen program at ServiceNow, where they train up people to work on ServiceNow who are otherwise unable to. And it is such a great program. I am inspired every time I see these folks' updates on the LinkedIn site. That's all I have to say about that. If you want to be inspired about it or hear about it or see those things, check out this podcast episode or follow the things on LinkedIn. This podcast by CJ and the Duke covers what is an admin and what you can expect to do as an admin at a company. This is great for all the new folks coming into the ecosystem. Crossviews released a few videos the other day about some benefit that they're giving to their employees, where they let them have like half days on Fridays off and a much longer bereavement time off and other benefits like this. And it got me thinking, what unique benefits do you get at your work that you can share? I know when I worked at Expedia, we were treated like travel agents, and we actually had like a travel agent benefits, and we got some cash to actually use for traveling. If you have any benefit that your work has that you think is fantastic, that's a little different than places you've been otherwise, I'd love to hear it. Share in the comments below. I asked Chuck if he had anything he wanted to share on the news a couple weeks ago, and told him if he made something, I'd throw it up. So Chuck sent me a clip. Here it is.
Thanks, Jace. I am thrilled to announce that our ServiceNow Developer Advocate team has launched a new video series called Did You Know? This series is dedicated to those ServiceNow technical tips and tricks to help you be a better developer and admin. They could be on platform, or they could be third party. They could be 30 seconds, or they could be 30 minutes, and they won't be on any particular release schedule. So you'll have to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss anything. Our first episode is a discussion and demonstration of the browser extension SNUtils by Arnaud Coe. This is a follow-up to an interview we did on the Breakpoint podcast earlier this year. We'll have more videos to come, and I'm sure your viewers have learned a few things they'd like to contribute. Now, rather than me trying to schedule and record with everyone who has a great idea, feel free to post your own videos, blogs, social media messages, and so on with the hashtag ServiceNowDYK, and we'll help amplify it. I look forward to what you all have to share. Back to you, Jace.
Thanks, Chuck. I also wanted to just make a note. That series sounds a lot like a series that Ryan Gillespie started called Did You Know, Did You Care about 2 years ago. But I'm glad to see that we're all making different content, and it's awesome to see the way that this is progressing. So I'm going to totally parrot Chuck's words. Make stuff, share it. I want to see it too. GlideFast has been producing so much content. Recently, they had an episode of their podcast, which they also post on YouTube with video, which I think is awesome, between Mike Lombardo and Harry Tillman, and how Harry generated value on the platform. And I think that's a discussion we just don't talk about a lot in the work that we do, like how the work that we do saves or makes money for the businesses we work for. Generally, we're all in a protected position, and it's not as critical. So I think hearing those conversations are very important. Mark Scott keeps having his weekly show, and this last week he interviewed his former boss, Josh, and they talked about some old war stories and how they came up and how Josh exited dev and now he's doing other stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. Runtime's about an hour. Some folks have been tagging me on LinkedIn or the Jace Now thing I made on there. And so I'm going to note that stuff here. We got an individual who's proud of the Oracle Cloud infrastructure plugin stuff that was working with ServiceNow with his group. We've got the My Tech best friend cohorts that finished, and the new ones that have just accepted the new role or the new boot camp invitation. We've got the ServiceNow DoD Skill Bridge completionists, and then we got the people who are the next gen. What do they call them? They're not interns, but externships. I see you folks, and I added some images of you guys up here. And then ServiceNow got 2 awards, and those are great and all that jazz. So I just want to take a moment here and just note these things and not go into very much detail on them, but I'll have links about them below. That all being said, I would love it if you guys could comment below about what you liked and didn't like about this episode, or if there's anything in here you would like to continue the discussion on, please do so, and I will interact with you down there. Have a great week.